Hi everybody, I am Adam from Trade with Precision and welcome to IC Markets Market Commentary. Let's have a look at the dollar index and see where we stand. Some potentially exciting news on the horizon. We've broken out this week. We closed above that $100 mark, a little bit further than we managed to do over the past year. We've got some resistance up ahead at 101 and we have formed a bit of a bearish rejection candle. So this week what I'm looking for, if we break the low here, is a move back down to test that $100 level. If we manage to find support here and finish higher and break and finish higher, then we might finally be free of this range. On the other hand, should we fall back down below that area, which is also equally possible, this is the frustrating thing about ranges, then we could potentially find ourselves heading back down towards the bottom of the range. I'm just quickly putting a line in the sand. If we breach this, before we even breach that low, it'll likely be an indication that we're going to head back down to the bottom of the range in the coming weeks. Having a look at euro dollar, I like this because the reason I wanted to show this to you is a very nice bullish candle off support. We are in a downtrend, so typically you'd be looking for a pullback and a trend continuation, but because we're range bound, we might find that we come back up. If the second we break this high, we're more likely to hit back up towards the top. GBP as well doing a similar bullish candle off support. So taking that into account, there is a very real possibility that we could find ourselves just heading back into the range. Let's just see what the early part of this week actually brings us. Dollar CAD is very interesting to me. Why? Because historically, if we just zoom out here, we've got quite a bit of room up ahead to go to. If we then go in a little bit closer, this is a weekly chart. What I'm looking for here, we are definitely overextended, but I am looking for some pullbacks here and a potential bullish candle to provide me with a buying opportunity, a trend continuation opportunity. So dollar CAD right now being the first chart that I'm actually quite keen on looking for opportunities in. Dollar yen, we are now fully in the danger zone. So the top of this blue range is the most recent high historically. Once we break beyond this, we start to go back 30 years into territory that we haven't been in, or I was going to say until last century. We start to head into the 1990s and 1970s. So this is why this is drawn in here. Keep an eye out for potential Bank of Japan intervention that increases the risk of intervention across all of the yen pairs. Then having a look at gold, we are in a downtrend. This is a potential level of support, but we are in a downtrend. So if we do continue down, that would be my plan A. However, if this week we produce an equal or higher low, some strong rejection there, we might ultimately, especially if we bounce back off that, be forming the basis for a reversal, but we're not there yet. All right, this is all bearish at this point in time, but I am going to be watching this level of support. So for now, my expectation is it's going to attempt to head down lower. The question for me is it going to be able to continue down towards that 3923 level, or will it find a support and turn around? That comes from silver, which has got some very strong support in this area, and I'll be looking for exactly the same thing. If we fall through this, there's a good chance we'll head down towards $56, $55, and $54 on silver, but this is also a strong level of support, and I want to see how that holds up. Should we break the high here, then of course it becomes more and more likely that we are forming a base. If we have a look at crude oil, very strong downtrend. And what I'll be looking for here is a pullback back into the moving averages, back into these key levels, and then looking for a bearish candle and a trend continuation to the downside. Interesting that both dollar CAD and crude oil, which have some correlation, finding some opportunities there, inverse correlation, but just relationship between crude oil and Canada. So just finding some interest there. Those are two that for me represent high probability opportunities. Then moving on to the global markets, little bit of very subtle divergence, not heavily divergent. Also looking very nice and bullish, especially on the weekly. We broke higher, we finished lower, but I don't see this as too bearish. So for now, my expectation is that this will attempt pull back and attempt to continue up this week, but it is starting to slow. All right, S&P. Beautiful weekly chart, really nice bullish candle closing above that high and an indecision bar. So really this might be a pause and go as opposed to an indecision and a lower high. Be keeping an eye on that. We've got the possibility here for a higher low. So we do actually have a higher low here, but I'm looking for this to continue to the upside and we'll see how it handles that this week. Obviously the one to watch is the weekly bar. If we break below the low of that first, then it's likely we'll see a deeper correction. But otherwise, all of this looks relatively bullish. the tech stocks as well, tech index, I beg your pardon, very nice and bullish, closing much higher than that. It's really only when you get to the daily, you realize we've got some true resistance here. We have pulled back, we have produced a higher low. I want to see this attempt to continue up here, break these highs. If it finds resistance here and we can't get through that, well, then we'll see what happens. If it breaks this low, then we're likely to have a deeper correction. But everything as is shows bullish, but just subtle or slow bullish. Russell 2000, also beautiful break above resistance, retesting that, nice bullish candle. We've just got to break above that high. So this week is looking just for follow through on a lot of these markets. Here's the FTSE, which is technically range bound. It's ping-ponging between these two levels here. For now, it is sitting in the middle, and sometimes you do get some support here. But for now, I'm leaning towards this, heading towards the bottom of the range. We'll see where it finishes by the end of the week. Looking at Euro stocks, this one actually gapping up and closing higher. This looks particularly good. Looking at it from a monthly perspective, it looks amazing. Starting to turn parabolic. All of this is looking pretty bullish. Any kind of a pullback, again, that we can get into the moving averages, for me at this point would represent actual buying opportunities. So swing traders will be having a look at that. And then wrapping up here on Bitcoin, which is in a downtrend. This it's possible, may find some support this area. I'll look. But if we do continue down here and break below the 60,000 level, we start to head back down towards 50,000. That's our next level of support. All right. If this level holds and we end up higher this week, we might be forming a base similar to gold and silver and potentially heading higher. For now, this is still looking quite weak, and therefore I'm going to wait until I see more bullish signals before I become bullish on it. Right now, my expectation is that it is going to attempt to head lower. So just to recap there, the dollar possibly on the edge of breaking higher, and if it does, we could see quite surprising strength from the dollar over the coming weeks. But we're not there yet. This week could be a deciding factor there. Dollar CAD, looking for pullbacks there, looking for buying opportunities on that. Interesting. So with oil, gold and silver, cautiously bearish on that because they might hold that support. And with the global indices predominantly still leaning bullish first. And I'm going to leave you with that. Ladies and gents, trade carefully, trade cautiously. Speak to you soon.